Hi, I'm Jacob,
And I'm Michael.
and we are Chillin' in the Library, where we chill back and discuss a particular album of choice. This week, what are we talking about, Michael? Give us the lowdown.
Today we're going to be talking about two albums. The first of which is Yay by Kanye West, and the second is Kids See Ghosts by Kids See Ghosts, featuring Kanye West and Kid Cudi.
Couldn't have said it better myself. So, I think, the lowdown is we're going to talk about some general feelings, and then we're going to go maybe track by track through Yay, and we're going to go track by track through Kids See Ghosts, and then wrap it up at the end. We'll give some thoughts and, just some straight up analysis. So I would like to just probably start by maybe talking about why we decided to talk about these two albums together. It was my idea because I think personally, I don't know what you think, Michael, but that these two albums really, they feel like companion pieces together. Yes, Kids See Ghosts is a collab album. It's like Kanye West and Kid Cudi, but in the brainchild of Mr. West, you can see the clear connection, and I think the thematic points that Kanye had stirring around his head. And Kids See Ghosts, in many ways, I feel like feels like a sequel to Yay. A lot of the questions he brings up on Yay. I don't know. What do you think about that?
Well, I think that's a good way of looking at it. I'm not too familiar with either of these albums. I'm going to be honest. This was my first time listening to both of them for this project. But right off the bat, I can see that they are, kind of linked to each other just because, on Kids See Ghosts, one of them is labeled as, Ghost Town Part 2.
Ghost Town Part 2. And guess who featured on Ghost Town Part 1?
Don't tell me it was Kid Cudi.
The Mr. Kid Cudi himself.
No way.
The
I didn't even know that. That's crazy.
This is true. So I have heard these albums a little bit before. I've heard Yay a lot. I really admire it. Kids See Ghost is one that I have been getting into recently, listening to a little bit because it's teased me a little bit, some of the ideas it has, some of the sounds, I haven't really been able to crack it or think about it, but I think this time around, just looking at it track by track, reading into the lyrics and whatnot, you definitely see, I think, where Kanye is going, and I think you can see a little bit of the Jesus is King route happening in Kids See Ghosts. You can kind of see where Kanye sees himself currently in the landscape of music as an entrepreneur, as a music businessman. I think he has a clear idea in these two albums where he wants his career to go. And I think it's very exciting on certain tracks, and I think it's very mysterious on other ones. So what do you think of the sound of Yay, Michael?
The sound of Yay was interesting for me. Because beforehand, I don't listen to a lot of Kanye. And I had heard, I don't know, parts, bits and pieces of some songs. And I always just thought it's, it's not really for me. This isn't really my kind of thing. And there are times where I felt like that listening to it. But overall, it was, very solid. I thought it was, I don't know, it was more than I thought it was originally. And I enjoyed a lot of it. The parts where I'm saying it didn't really wasn't my thing would just be small, I don't know, I don't know if I know what song specifically, but just the introduction to it. Mm-hmm. I wasn't really feeling it at first.
Yeah.
But then as the song progressed, it was oh, this is cool. I like this.
Yeah. I've listened to a little bit more. I'm not the biggest Kanye West stan, I don't go and take everything he says as, and try to interpret it, I just think he's an interesting person. He's an interesting artist. I find him interesting particularly just because of how blatantly himself he is in this music and how uncensored he tries to be. And it's not it can be in an annoying way, but it also can be in a somewhat endearing way to just see someone just say how they see the world as it is and not really give really two fucks about what the rest of the world is going to say about it, which can be annoying, but it also can be extremely revealing at certain parts. And I think what I really connected to in Yay over a lot of his other albums, which maybe have received more acclaim, more respect, some more prestige, is how unguarded Ye is on this project. How he sounds almost times like that he's, as someone who have seen be so vulnerable in his music, or just so unabashedly himself, and there's parts of this album where it almost feels he's so vulnerable that could be awkward even to listen to him. And it's almost like I admire Kanye for just putting a more humbled, more down-to-earth version of himself out for us to finally meet. Almost like we're meeting the Kanye West that maybe we haven't, the indoors Kanye West, the one that's been behind closed doors, the Kanye West that apparently had a huge breakdown on the, I don't know much about it, but apparently on the St. Pablo tour, you had a huge kind of mental breakdown. He was very exhausted and whatnot. And a lot of those kind of feelings are the sentiments that went into Ye, a feeling almost like a fallen, not like a fallen God, but like in himself, like just feeling like he has portrayed himself as this invincible maniac for so long, and almost taking himself down and being more open with us and being more vulnerable with us in a way that could actually, you know, not hurt his reputation, but take away from the reputation he builds himself up in his music. And that's what I really connect to Ye. I love the minimal beats on this album. I love how, like, you know, All Mine, which could just be another Kanye sex banger. He's like basically rapping over almost nothing. Like there's nothing really like glitzy about it. You know, you could like compare that to something off of My Dark Beautiful Twisted Fantasy. I know different album, but like you could have some similar sentiments in like both albums, but the sound of this is so much more kind of gross and nothingness. It's like he's rapping over an abyss. I don't know.
And I think that fits in with what you were saying about the album just kind of being like about him and being very deep, him being vulnerable. It's sort of like we're just taking like a look into like his mind and his thoughts, and it's more of just like kind of, because even the first song, I thought about Killing You, just kind of like a monologue where we're like stepping into the mind of Kanye. He's like telling us his thoughts and being open about all of that.
Yeah, and there's several moments on this album, maybe not like whole songs, but there's several like tiny little moments that kind of give you like the idea that this whole album is basically us going into like an internal monologue going on inside of Kanye's mind. I think there's we'll get maybe a little bit more into this a little later when we go track by track, but there's certain moments where we have several different audio layers going on top of each other, and it kind of just feels like we are seeing and hearing through Kanye's eyes in this album at times, how he's experiencing the world and how he's experiencing himself, especially how he goes into so much depth on his mental illness. He's bipolar. He comes out of bipolar on this album. Like, I feel like he's really kind of giving us like the idea of how he's experiencing the world at certain times, which we can go more specifically in later.
Sure.
Is there anything else you want to maybe say about Ye before we move on to a little bit of Kids See Ghost?
I think you summed it up pretty well in all of your sentiments about it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So what did you think generally about the sound, the themes, the performances on Kids See Ghosts?
So I think I did, so just going back to Ye, I liked Ye more than I thought I would, but I think I liked Kids See Ghosts a lot more. It's sort of like, because you're saying how they're kind of, I don't know, like companion albums kind of connected. They're sort of like, I don't know, two sides of a coin, where you have Ye, where it's like the minimal beats, you know, very quiet and kind of like laid back. And then you get into Kids See Ghosts, where things are like a little bit louder and not necessarily more angry, but definitely it has like a different like energy to it, I guess.
I would say like at times, yeah, like I agree. I would say that at times in Kids See Ghost, it's kind of creepy and kind of scary at times. I've kind of heard like some ideas, like Ye kind of feels like a little bit cobbled together and a little bit things just like are kind of put together, and by the luck of the gods, they turn out the sound really good. Like he put it together in a very short amount of time. He had a whole like other album ready, and then he just kind of threw that album away to kind of go in a different direction, which turned out to be Ye. He literally snapped the picture of the album cover on the way to the listening party. His wife, Kim Kardashian, on the way to the listening party, asked him to remove a certain lyric. We don't know which lyric that is. But she asked, so he was like, it was kind of, just Kanye putting, with like no time to really think about it, just imprinting his mind onto paper.
Yeah.
Kids See Ghosts, I think, as a flip side of that, like you said, I feel like this is like the Kanye that Kanye wants to be moving forward. About like kind of like that was him kind of airing out all of his like baggage. Now Kids See Ghosts is him thinking, those were my problems, I talked about them, but now it's time, as like one of the main anthems in the album goes, to move forward, to think about where I want to go, what type of person I want to be in the future. I think it's much more about being the new Kanye than thinking about the tortured soul that Kanye like is and has been. And I think you can hear that when in just like a lot of the production on Kids See Ghosts, it's much more cleaned up and poppy and abrasive at times. Kanye sounds so much more confident on a lot of his verses. The chemistry that he has with Kid Cudi and how Kid Cudi's vocals on this album really add a whole like another level that Kanye could not bring by himself, because he's not really the best singer by any means.
He's trying.
He tries really hard, and a lot of the time I think he does succeed. It just, you have to have a very certain song for him to sound good singing on. What do you think? Any of that stir up any thoughts in your mind?
Yeah, just kind of going off of how you were saying, it shows just like a different side of Kanye, where like you kind of, like you were saying, shows like his vulnerable side, like what's going on behind closed doors Kanye, and more like Kids See Ghost is like the Kanye he wants to like show the world and impose on others.
The one he wants to be almost proud of, I feel like.
Right.
And that's not all over Kids See Ghost. There's part where Kanye, like, there's parts like in Fourth Dimension where he's being just as vulgar, just as kind of gross, and that he's been on a lot of other songs before. But the way he portrays that and the way he kind of fits, I think, into the album structure and story kind of show Kanye's mindset on a lot of it. And I think it shows, especially with the tracks following, like Fourth Dimension or not, how he kind of thinks he's progressed and where he wants to go. Because I think on that track particularly, I feel like he's like portraying a lot of these old maybe vices that he had as like these transcendental experiences that he had, and something that like made him get out of the insanity of his mind. But now he wants a new way, a better, a more wholesome, more healing way. As I think there's a lot of lyrics further in the album that show that he's not happy with how he's been living entirely. He wants maybe something else that could be more fulfilling. And I think he has certain ideas, which we can get into more specifically a little later in the cast. Before we start, I think we should just apologize for maybe some untrustworthiness. We are not actually in a library, we are chilling, but we are not in a library.
This is true.
Due to circumstances out of our control.
Mm.
We are denied access to a library.
But that's okay. We're still chilling, so we're halfway there. You know, the library's in our hearts and in our minds. So
I couldn't have said it better myself, Michael. But we are chilling right now. We're gonna go track by track on Ye right now, starting with the intro. I Thought About Killing You. What do you think of this, Michael?
I think this song is interesting. I really like, I don't know, the sample, I guess, that the most of the song is based off of. And I like how it starts off kind of like spoken word, you know, like a little monologue. And then like just when the first, like, I don't know if you consider that the verse, but like when the beat comes in and Kanye starts, you know, saying his lines,
going on his things, yeah.
Like, I don't know, there's just something about that where it just kind of hits you, and it's like, ooh, that's good, you know?
Yeah, one thing I really connect with this track is I love how the production kind of builds up to this like beat switch. You have this like very you have this kind of loop going on of these like warped vocals going underneath his spoken word like poetry, and then you go into like his verse where he starts singing and rapping, but like, you know, you just kind of start adding, you just kind of he builds up the beat a bit, he adds like a little bit of this, he adds a little bit of that, and you think maybe this beat's just gonna keep growing till it's like something big or something, but no, then they just have that one point where we just kind of switch,
right, it just
and
takes it all away.
Yeah, we go into this I think this pretty killer verse overall. I love the lyrics on this thing. I love the my favorite line on it is probably like, I need Coke with no rum, I taste Coke on her tongue, because it's just like a really sweet idea that, like, you know, he doesn't want to give into like these certain like substance abuse that he has probably, you know, given into previous on his life, and now wants to go and seek out those same highs in other places, such as, you know, the love of his wife, Kim, who I'm guessing he's speaking about. Like, that same taste he gets of Coke with rum is the same thing, is the same high, the same fulfillment he gets from the tongue of Kim Kardashian. But, you know, it's a kind of, when said that way, it's a little vulgar, but I feel like it's a very sweet sentiment coming.
In the most Kanye way possible.
Yeah.
It's saying how much he loves his wife.
Yes. And I feel like the first part very much is just like feels like a great like kind of just snapshot into the interior monologue of really anyone that may be having like certain like dark suicidal or depressive feelings. Like, we're just kind of getting this blunt, candid statement. They're not like, he doesn't care about like a taboo or anything, and that's something he's talked about in a lot of like interviews. He thinks for this sort of thing to be more normalized and talked about, you just have to talk about it, say it. It's not something that's scary or like secret or evil or anything. It's there, and you have to acknowledge it, and we have to speak about it more openly. So I love that, just plain talking about his like suicidal and depressive tendencies. He doesn't shy away from it. He just comes out straight out the gate and talks about it, and we're already hearing a new Ye. We're already hearing, and then he goes into those bars about how he tried to scream but he has no lungs, and it hurts so bad that he felt numb. Like, you really kind of get this idea that like there is like something inside of Kanye that wants to be out there, wants to be more expressed, but it is often maybe pushed down by his as we hear later on, maybe his bipolar disorder, or maybe by his like incessant egoism or whatnot, that there's maybe a more different Ye down there somewhere inside him that can't get out, that he almost feels trapped in his own mind. And that's how I don't know about you, but that's how I kind of interpret him saying that he thinks about killing you. I think he's talking to this more human, mortal Kanye, telling him that like, it's so much more fun and more liberating to be the big superstar Kanye. So it'd be so much easier if you think about just killing like the moral aspect of yourself and staying by being the god. That's kind of how I interpret those lines.
That's interesting. I never thought about it in that sense.
Yeah. And I think that's a great way to start the album, is talking about maybe why we haven't heard this Kanye on previous albums as much. We maybe get like a snip of it here, like on something like 808s and Heartbreak or whatnot, and definitely on Life of Pablo. So I think this is a great way to start off the track with Kanye just coming out of the gate, talking plain about his mental health, setting the sonic palette. I think it's a great intro to the track. Second track on this thing, Yikes.
Yikes.
What did you think?
I like this song a lot. I really like the production on the beat. You know, it's got a lot of energy. It's just really, I don't know, just punches you in the face. Like, we started off all nice and mellow. We got like, I don't know, Kanye's thoughts, just on, I don't know, just very, very calm for the most part. And then we just get into the second track, and you know, you got this tambourine, you got Kanye kind of being loud like Kanye likes to be, and you know, it just kind of throws you into it. I like that.
I love the perpetual sense of motion in this production and in Kanye's flow. He, you know, if this whole kind of album is like Kanye kind of talking and dealing with his bipolar. We had our first song, which is like the mellow, kind of depressive phases that people can go through. But this song is full manic. Kanye sounds scary and amped up and like ready to kill someone on this track at times. He like, and even that like goes with the hook and I think the overall message of the track of being scared of the state you can be in, like you're almost like not in control of your body. There's a part, I believe it's like the second or maybe even the third hook. I think it's the third hook on this thing where he's singing the "shit can get frightening," and over that we kind of hear this like Kanye just freaking out, talking about being on his meds and whatnot. I kind of get the idea that the hook, him singing about being scared, is almost like inside of his head. And that is happening at the same time that he just sees himself out and about, kind of like on these like this campaign, you know, going out there saying things, making music or calling people out, doing whatever he might do to get all this energy out. And I feel like we kind of get the sense that you are scared because you don't really know what you're not really maybe totally in control of your body, of what you say, of what you do when you get all amped up like this. And I think it really kind of portrays that fear you might have of yourself, a very kind of Kanye aggressive way. And I think like in this point, like he isn't necessarily like, he's kind of like balancing it. Like at the end, he's very proud of his mental illness. And I don't think that's supposed to be taken in a more negative like light. I think that's kind of honestly expressing the fact that like in many ways he's proud of it, of his like of being bipolar and because it's who he is. You know, if it's his superpower, it helps him, he believes helps him make better music, or it helps him do this, or it helped him get to the place where he is now. It is who he is, and he believes it full-heartedly. But it doesn't mean that he can't also, it's like kind of a love-hate relationship, and I think you get both on this track. All right, third track on Ye, All Mine. What did you think?
So I think this might have been the first song I heard off of this album, you know, back when it came out. And I didn't like it when I first heard it. And I think part of that is just because, I don't know, back then, and even to some extent now, I have a much better appreciation for Kanye now than I did in the past. And one thing is just like I was never really a huge fan of his production in most songs. I don't know, this song just sounded like kind of bland to me because like there's not much to the beat, right? It's pretty basic. But what I appreciated about it back then was just like his lyrics. Like I think Kanye's a good lyricist. He like when I first heard the line, "I love your titties because they prove I can focus on two things at once," I'm like, oh, that's clever. Like that's a good line. But I don't know, just like hearing it again and like in context with like the rest of the album and everything, like I just have a much better like sense and appreciation for it. And I don't know, it just works, like with the minimal beat and everything. That I don't know, it's just a good song. It's got a catchy hook, you know. It's you hear it, it's stuck in your head. Yeah, it's one of those deals.
I definitely, because this is also the only song I heard off this album before I listened to the whole album, because I think it was on like some silly like hip hop playlist or something. So, and I thought it was good. I put it on, like I listened to it. I thought it was good, but it makes way more sense in the context of the album than as like because like I guess they probably like thought that people would like this one because it's like maybe the closest we would get to like a Kanye banger on this thing.
Yeah, it's like a classic vulgar obscene Kanye like song about sex.
Like I guess, but like it's not really that glamorous or nearly as glamorous as Kanye has talked about these certain like topics in previous songs. it's almost kind of like gross at times and sounding like the way that he's talking about how you literally just like he could have any woman in the world, but he can't, like it's an insatiable kind of urge. He didn't say any of this, but just the way he talks about it, how he could like have a Naomi Campbell but still want like a Stormy Daniels. You can kind of hear that he's like on this album. I think in the context, you kind of get the sense, he doesn't say any of it, but I get the sense that he's kind of thinking of this as kind of like something you can't, a vice, like an addiction.
Yeah.
You know, it's like he's that he just is addicted to just fucking up with all these different women's. Like life is where he's saying like life is valuable, but I prefer to waste it on girls who's basic. Like it's not like something he really like glorifies in the song any much. It's not really he demonizes either, but it's a dark side of him or something that he is part of them, and he's kind of more. I feel like it's much more of just a cool take on it than just a manic Kanye talking about all of his different conquests. It's a much more one that's kind of like you can take it as you will. This is something that like I can't stop in myself, or something that like, you know, I think later on the album we will get like the sense that these are certain feelings that he's kind of having a second thought about. But on this song, I think we get our first sense that this is not something he totally like loves about himself. It's just something that he kind of, an urge or a addiction that he kind of has somewhere in his body. This is
just one side of Kanye. I don't know.
Even to go on this kind of drug kind of theme that's going throughout the album, especially on Yikes, he refers in the hook to the medulla oblongata. So it's almost like sex is kind of like a drug that like affects your brain in a similar way.
For sure.
Yeah, so I think that those are some of the things that are going through the song. The fourth track on Ye, Wouldn't Leave. Thoughts, Michael?
Well, you know, I think this is another one that showcases my my appreciation for his lyric writing. Like particularly something that stands out to me is in verse 2 when he's, you know, rhyming sentimental, gentlemental, sentimental. I just think that's, I don't know, really clever, really sharp. It's a nice little rhyme scheme. I like one like little gripe I have about this song and the last one too a little bit is like they're kind of like slower, calmer songs, and like I just wish Kanye's like rapping was like a little more dynamic, you know what I mean? Because like he's always just like kind of like his loud self, like I don't know, his style of rapping. Yeah. Like it doesn't sound bad. Like I'm not hating on him or anything. I would just like if there was, I don't know, just like matched a little more with the mood of the song, maybe like a little like softer. I don't know, just the thought I had like the first time I was listening.
I definitely can see that maybe on this song. Like, yeah, the last one I think it's pretty. On All Mine, I think it's very kind of fitting because you know it's kind of like the power and that you might feel from like the high and the rush you would get from these sexual experiences. Right. But on this song, I think. I can kind of agree in like performance wise, but like I think the reason he's doing it is because I think he really wants to place emphasis on every like thing he's saying. Like this is like almost like this is the closest thing I think we're ever gonna get of like the closest thing we're gonna get to an apology for anything Kanye West has ever really done. And I'm not like asking for an apology or not, but I think this is like the closest thing where he is almost, if this whole album like on Yikes we kind of see that he's kind of proud and like he kind of feels maybe amped up and maybe empowered by some of his bipolar effects. This is where I kind of think he kind of deals with the fact that his mental illness can both like has gotten him to where he is now, but it also he's now dealing with how it has hurt those around him that he like cares about so much. The first verse, or all like. Full disclosure, I cried the first time I heard this song because the first verse, like he's just the way he talks about how he made all these controversial comments and whatnot, and how that negatively affected his relationship with his wife, how they were now all of a sudden the public eye for not really too good of reasons, and all of a sudden he he kind of realizes that he can both like fly, but he can also hurt the people around him because of this. And I think that's, and the whole like sentiment of this song of just thanking his wife, thanking all women that maybe stay with men like him who may not deserve them, I think is a really sweet and very vulnerable and very humble sentiment from Kanye. And I think this is like one of my favorite tracks on it, just for the sentiment and message alone, just for his little speech at the end.
Yeah, that's nice. I like that.
It just feels very genuine, and even a lot of times on a lot of his albums where he's maybe being a little like a little bit more introspective or not, there's still something that like sounds, even on this album, there's like parts of it that sound a little bit more into himself or egotistical, which is like part of him. I understand it. It's just, this is like one of like the rare moments where I feel like he's fully just on his knees and being grateful and not thinking about a lot of like other things that he might talk about with, like, he has one lyric on this where like, I have the mindset to take us into the stratosphere. Like, there's none of that. It's just him being grateful for his wife and being grateful for women out there like her. And I think it's a really sweet. I love the little group vocals in the background doing it, the little vocal ad-libs that are happening under his speech. It just kind of is like a nice little soundscape just to have him almost like, I don't know, in like a way like renew his vows or something, like just be like, yeah. I love you. I'm like, and I just want to like have that out there that like, thank you. All right, next track, No Mistakes. What did you think, Michael?
I like it. Has a nice energy to it. A good break from, the past two songs, kind of a little more down low, kind of calmer songs. And on this one, it kicks it up a notch, which I like. I'm always a fan of higher energy songs, I guess.
Yeah.
Got some samples going on in this. I like that. Always a fan of a nice sample. I don't know. I just really like the production on this one. Yeah. It's got a catchy hook.
I like kind of like Kanye's like sing-songy kind of flow at the beginning of his verse a bit and whatnot, and I like but overall I'd say that this is probably my least favorite on the album. I would say, just because I think it's overall, like, I think, it's good for like, a quick listen or not, and it's better in the track list, but I feel like it's a little too almost like underdeveloped. It seems like the simplest of all like the songs, like they may be like low key or not, but this, all we really get is like this very kind of simple hook of just the same refrain. We get like a little verse in the middle, and then we get the chorus again. And that's all we really get. I don't think there's anything to, the overall message of it is kind of like, we get this like hook about how he's talking about how like, I'm guessing to Kim, that he like
Probably
loves her. And even though he may act in a certain way, like he does really do love her. But then his whole verse is kind of like him sitting like a rival down and kind of talking about how they should just like give up their beef, but it's still a little confrontational and almost like not really like extending a bridge, more just like, let's calm down, let's stop doing this. It's a little confrontational. There's like, thoughts that's about Draco and not, which I would believe, but I think overall it's just like, it's a good tune. I like but I think it's a little just, there's nothing really in here that I don't think we get from other tracks. And I don't think, it's just lacking a vital component for me. It's just lacking a cohesion. Like, it's not really about anything in particular. While which wouldn't be a big deal, but all the other songs are just very particular about like some sort of topic. So that's kind of my opinion on it. I like it, but I think it's probably my least favorite. It's definitely my least favorite off the whole album. I said it. No playing around. I think it's just all right.
I think this is one of my more favorite tracks on it, to be honest. Because, like, I don't know, you're saying it's less cohesive with, like, a message in the lyrics and all that. But I don't know, I just feel like, as a whole, like, the production and everything just feels a lot more complete. Because it's not as barren as a lot of the other tracks are. So, I don't know, it just feels more like a complete song to me, if that makes sense.
I get
like
it.
lyrics
I get
aside,
yeah.
just like a song as a whole,
Mhm.
you know, just sit back, listen to it. Sounds nice. I don't know, I like it.
You know,
I could sit down, I could chill in the library to that.
and I think that's what we're doing right now.
I think that is what we're doing.
Well, let's see if we can chill to our next song. Ghost Town.
Ghost Town.
What did you think, Michael?
I like this song a lot. This one is probably my favorite on the album.
I think it's a lot of people. I think it was like voted on like Genius.com. Their like #1 song of like
Really?
2018 by like, I think it was like a user poll thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I think you have a lot of company there.
Yeah. I don't know, it's just a very solid song, you know? Again, like the production on everything, very complete, very whole. I like the organ in the back, you know, the guitars. I'm a fan of all that. I don't know, like just like in the outro, like that, I don't know, that hook, that melody. It's just, I love it. I don't know, it's great. And like one thing I really think is cool, like I like when songs do this where they're kind of, I don't know, like happier sounding, or like, you know, like kind of sounds like
Yeah.
it's in good spirits, but then like the lyrics are kind of dark,
Mhm.
right? And like in the outro, you know, I put my hand on a stove to see if I still bleed. You know, that's kind of fucking dark. It's like you know, like 9 Inch Nails and Hurt. You know,
Yeah.
I hurt myself today to see if I still feel. You know, kind of like, I don't know, you're just like so bogged down with all these negative emotions and everything, where you just feel like you're just emotionally drained. You're just numb. You don't feel anything. And so it, like, you know, lyrically, just like that part, I don't know about the rest of the song, but just that part, you know, very
Yeah.
dark, but like, I don't know, just it's so catchy. It's like, how could a song like this catchy be that deep, you know? I don't know, I just like that.
The go off like what you said, maybe about like more about the last song where you said it felt like a more full like song, and the other ones have been like a little desolate, and it's been like cool, but like, you know, no mistakes, you said sound like more like complete song.
Right.
This I think kind of holds both worlds by feeling both kind of like super rough, super raw, kind of just put like mangled together into a song, while also feeling like a complete journey from beginning.
Sure.
It ends in like a totally different way.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
it starts. You go like, it feels like you're on like this trip. I don't know. That's how I always feel like. I always kind of I don't forget about like the outro. It's like my favorite part. But like by the time it comes in, I'm like, oh snap! I forgot about this. Like, this part's awesome. This is it. It's just and I think there's a lot going on in this song. Like, thematically, it is dense in the album. It feels like all the themes that they maybe have been like a little bit here, a little bit here, are all just kind of bubbling up all at the same time on this album. Let me see. Like, I think, you know, the Kid Cudi's little his little melody on it where he says, "I've been trying to make you love me, but everything I try always pushes you further from me." I interpret that as like another, again, because this is all about Kanye's mental state and his mind and his mental illnesses and how his problems are, you know, his brain. And I feel like that's him like kind of talking about to himself, saying like, all these things I've done, all these crazy antics, all these big stunts I've performed has been to get you to love me. Because, you know, like I always say, like the person with the most, like, you know, acts like they love themselves, the one that's like the most outwardly has the most outward self-esteem usually doesn't really actually have that themselves. They're like, he's trying to convince himself that like he is the person that he says he is on his music, in his stunts. When he says he's a god on Jesus, no matter how that was meant to be taken, he's almost like trying to prove to himself that he is by doing these insane feats of success. And I think that's like what the song is like. I keep trying to make you love me, yet everything I do is just kind of almost like hurt me over time. Over time, it has only made me worse off. It has gotten me to this like point where I've become like because before Ye released, he was almost completely ostracized by a lot of people because of his like comments about slavery being a choice, which he referenced on Wouldn't Leave,
Right.
for his support of Trump and whatnot. So it's almost like now he's like reached a low where he has to reconcile where his actions had brought him, to the point where his wife was considering leaving him, even though we heard that she wouldn't leave. But that the fact that she was like, it could have happened, and that he gave her the choice. I think it's like this is a very revealing just lyric on the album about how Kanye sees himself and why he may does a lot of the things he does and why he thinks the way he does. So I think that's a very revealing lyric. Another part is what I love about the outro is, you were talking about like kind of some of the darker like underbelly of it, but I love the fact these other lyrics that we're still the kids that we used to be. And it's sung by I forget the full artist name, but 070 Shake, I believe. I love the childlike vocals that she does give, and it's almost like at times it kind of sounds like her performance is cut from like 5 different performances, and they're just cutting on words. So like you have these like harsh like kind of cuts between her words, where it's like everything that I know, and it like kind of sounds like they're just cutting between all these different takes of her performance. And then you have these really childlike vocals talking about how we're used to kids we used to be, and I see that as like, even though this is the Kanye album, I almost see that as this is almost like a honorary Kids See Ghost song, because like it's almost like Kid Cudi and Kanye singing, their soul singing, the child inside of them coming out and showing that at the end of the day, at the beginning of, before any of this happened, how did Kanye start out? He started out probably just someone who liked music, with a love of the music. And then somewhere along the way, everything else happened. And all of that stuff that like what Kanye wants to be remembered by, I would hope so, is for his music, for the art that he made, not for the stupid comment that he said or not. So I think this point is he's kind of realizing that maybe a lot of the things he's doing are maybe overshadowing the music, because somewhere along the line, it didn't become about the music anymore. Maybe it became more about Kanye, or maybe it became more about this or that. Like, but at the beginning of the day, Kanye started out as like a teenager cutting beats, kind of sampling beats and stuff. And he even said this, that he said making Ye kind of felt like he was 14 in his mom's house again.
Wow.
Cutting up beats, because that's how it all started. Mm-hmm. It started as him just a kid trying to make it big. And now that he is big and everything else has happened, it's almost like a yearning to go back to the innocent kind of start of it all, when it was all just about the music. And I think that's like a really refreshing kind of nice sentiment that's like on the song. I love those. And one last quick note is just in that outro, because I love it so much. Those distorted like sound effects. I don't know what instrument they are, if they're anything. They're just these started like alien noises at times, or they're like super hard bass almost, but they're just like have these like electronic kind of sound effect sound to them. Something that I don't know if you ever heard on Lil Uzi Vert's You Gotta Move. He uses a lot of sound effects in the beat. Sounds almost something like it reminds me. All right, final track on Ye, Violent Crimes.
Violent Crimes.
Yeah. What did you think?
So when I listened to it the first time, because I mentioned earlier at the beginning of the cast, there's like one song where like I didn't like the intro.
Yeah.
I think that was this song.
Really?
I don't know. It's just, it just seemed kind of out of place to me. I don't know. It something about what just wasn't clicking with me. But then like when the verse came in, like, I don't know, it's just like, oh my god, like, I don't know, it's like, this is good, I liked it. I like the message about it, how everyone's, I don't know, up to all this crazy shit, and then they have kids, and then they're like, oh my god, like, I can't be doing this anymore, like, I need to be responsible for my kids and all that. But yeah, It's a good song, and like when the I don't know, like those vocals from the beginning come back at the end. Like when I heard that, then I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Like I started to like it more. It wasn't as like, I don't know, off-putting as it was when I first heard it. And I was like, all right, this makes sense. I'm liking it.
This song makes me cry. This song makes me cry. It's like one of them I also have heard like so much like up to this point where that doesn't make me like cry like all the time now, but like this song is so pretty and so sad, and you can sound like on hear it in Kanye's verse. The idea that like you were scared of how men are going to like use and like manipulate and torture your daughters in a certain way, like they're going to have to go out into the world,
right?
And he was one of those people.
Yeah, he knows how they're going to be treated in the world,
because he was the one who would treat his daughter like that if it wasn't his daughter,
right?
Like he
if
is
it's
the
just
one.
some woman, yeah.
So the idea that he like is like thinking back to all of like the daughters he has used and abused like throughout his life, like I think it's just like a like found moment of just like humility on this track, and the confessional style of the verse, like the very like kind of like low synth in the background that's there, it just kind of sounds like he's like praying up to the sky. He even says like, God, like I'm scared of the karma because I'm not seeing his women as something to nurture, not something to conquer. Like it's sounding like he's like airing out like all these how much guilt he feels, because now he understands what he's done or how he's used his life. And I think there's like lots of moments where like he's not really giving great parenting advice. He's being very protective, very paternal and whatnot. But I don't think that's like, an expression of like what he wants to do or what he is. It's almost like how his like fear of like what could happen is like could influence people to become these control-of strict, violent parents in a way. Not maybe like physically violent, but emotionally violent parents, because you don't want your child to get hurt. So I just think this is like kind of just a great expression of just trying to hold back and confront your more dark, violent side for the sake of your kids, because they're going to have to go out there, but you don't want them to. But if you try to stop them, it would only turn out your kids will resent you. Your kids are just
they
resenting.
Won't grow up the way they should. Yeah.
And he had that whole line like, if you beat her ass and she moves in with him, and then when he beats her ass, it starts all over again. Like that's like, it's just, you have to like just trust it at a certain point. And I think even like he has I love the verse, like his lines just about how like he wants her just to do karate, he wants her to do this, which aren't like necessarily great. It's just like an irrational kind of thing he might do, but he knows it's irrational. I think on the song he's trying to talk himself out of making these mistakes in the future. He doesn't want to be that type of parent, but he knows he could do it because that's the type of person he is, or that's the type of person he could see himself being. So I love like that kind of honest confessional, talking himself out of doing something bad in the future for the sake of his children. And like the sentiment of don't grow up in a hurry, your mom will be worried. It's a really, really beautiful song, I think.
It is.
It's my second favorite.
Really?
Full disclosure.
Got a bit of bias going on.
Got some bias up in here, So I think that'll... one last note I just want to say is I think it's interesting how this album ends with Nicki Minaj, which I think is because like earlier in the song, like he had those lines, so I'm guessing she either wrote them and he wanted to give her credit for it, or it's like almost like she's okay with those lines, because he says like he wants his daughter to be like Nicki in success, but not be like promiscuous like Nicki Minaj. So I think it's like it's either like him showing like Nicki's not mad at me, or like Nicki wrote the lines and was like gave them to him. But I also think that's interesting because My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, which came out in 2010, starts with Nicki Minaj giving like a little voiceover segment. So I think it's just interesting that like if you look at the albums, you have My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, which is very much about Kanye's like crazy delusions. Then you have Yeezus, where he's going on like these insane power trips and these like maniacal rants about how he's a god and all these whatnot. He's full abrasive, full loud Kanye. And then you have Life of Pablo, which is much more in terms with Ye, but still reserves all this stuff. I feel like this album and this ending is almost like the ending of the fantasy.
I was gonna say, yeah, it's like the closing of the book. You know, you start off with Nicki, you end with Nicki. You have all of this stuff that he's done, and then he just ends it with his apologies. You know, all of airing out all of his wrongdoings and all of that.
Because My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy is very much how he envisions like his life going in the future. He's saying like, this is where my life might go. And now we've seen where his life has gone in those years, and he's like, I think he's at least portraying himself as a different person. And now we're like going into like a new era of Kanye. First track on Kids See Ghosts. Feel the Love. I would just like to start by saying, like, if like the first song on an album is supposed to create like, you know, the sonic landscape of the album, kind of give us a taste of like the world that we are going to be inhabiting for like however many tracks. You know, the first track off Ye, we had this kind of depressive, minimal, introspective feel. Feel the Love on Kids See Ghosts. We get the abrasive, the hellish, the kind of ethereal battle that we are going to go through for 7 tracks. I don't know what you think, Michael.
Yeah, I think it's just a very chaotic assault on the ears, you know, just kind of all over the place. You know, you get this sing-songy kind of hook from Kid Cudi, and they just got Kanye coming in with his, I don't know, gun sound onomatopoeias. What more do you need, I guess, you know? Just get right into it right off the bat.
They juxtapose like the ugly, the negative with like the pretty and like the ethereal. You know, Cudi's vocals like are kind of just like floating into like nothingness almost. Like they're very pretty, but they feel very pained. You know, it doesn't sound like he's like just kind of singing easily. It sounds like he's pushing them out with his clenched muscles. And then you have Pusha T with this cold-blooded, straight to the point verse. This is a cold world where people are stepping over each other, and then we have the gunshots from Kanye. This is like placing us firmly into like a war zone, it almost feels like. And that's what I love about the production at the end of the song. You get those kind of like, you have like kind of like the sound of like riding into battle. Kanye West are going into the Graz, and they're going into this world of pain and love, but also kind of cold and ruthlessness. And I feel like it creates almost like a self-contained world all in one song that we're going to explore.
I couldn't agree more with that. You know?
All right, we're back with the second song off Kids See Ghosts, Fire. What did you think, Michael?
I like it. You know, it's a good song. I don't have much to say about it, honestly.
Yeah, it's one of the least kind of conspicuous tracks compared to the rest on the track list. I feel like it's pretty straightforward. You know, you get a little verse from Kanye, you get a little verse from Kid Cudi, and then we get a little outro.
Yeah.
Nothing too dense in like the lyrics. There's some very interesting little things that pop up here and there, which I can talk about, but I don't know. I get the sense at the beginning that this kind of feels like almost like a Western type.
I was gonna say the same thing. Yeah, because you got like, I don't know, like the tambourine or whatever in the back. It kind of sounds like the spurs on the boots, you know, walking along.
And you have like Kanye as a cowboy almost at the beginning, like I love all your shit talking. Like you kind of feel like he's like a cowboy walking to a saloon or something.
Yeah, I don't know, just like a Western sounding guitar in there too. I don't know.
And I feel like this continues very much like kind of the riding kind of theme that's at the end of the the end of the
Oh,
first
sure,
song.
yeah.
Like this kind of feels like, you know, the song is called Fire. And I feel like this is the first song where we kind of get a sense of like the fire that Kanye and Kid Cudi see engulfing the world. You know, you see negativity all around you. You know, Kanye talks very much, his like first two lyrics are about like how, you know, there's all these haters that are kind of, he feels have like ruled him. You know, he's always trying to prove them wrong. He's always trying to do this to outdo them or something. And I feel like he has a line where he says he wants to rule himself. He wants to take back control from the negativity that you kind of feel like he claims he doesn't give into, but secretly we know he actually does, and it does maybe get to him. So I feel like this song is very much, we see Kid Cudi saying Beautiful Madness, where he's kind of seeing how like to him this world is, you know, just like crazy place, you know what I mean? And we get the first at the end of the song and Kid Cudi's kind of outro where he's kind of singing for like some sort of deliverance from this crazy world that's on fire a bit. I think it just like kind of introduces some more themes with a fun beat, some good verses. I like Kid Cudi's part more on this personally. I love all his stuff about
I do too, yeah.
heaven delivering him and whatnot, which is a big theme that we'll see I think later on the album. All right, the third track, which you would think might be the fourth, because it's called Fourth Dimension.
Now, why would they do that?
I don't know. I think they're trying to mess me up. What did you think, Michael?
I like this song a lot.
Before I played it, you even said, "Oh, I like this one."
I do like this one. It's one of my favorites on the album. I like, again, like the samples. I'm a fan of a good sample.
It's so sinister.
And yeah, this this sample they chose to, you know, base the song off of, it just like, yeah, it just has like this mood to it. And it like just like sets up the track to just be like really just like hard hitting, you know.
It's kind of like creepy almost, because you know you have that kind of like old, I don't know, like even like that old kind of like what,
yeah,
like it's like an old kid's song. It's like called like What Is Santa Bringing?
Yeah.
It's just like feels like gross when you have Kanye and Kid Cudi's hands all over it.
Getting their filthy mitts on it. Yeah, I don't know. And one thing, you know, just listening to it now, like one line that stood out to me at the end of Kanye's verse, where he's just like, "If I get locked up, I won't finish Descent." I like that. That's clever.
What I really like about, so like if we had Fire where we end with like a call for deliverance, I feel like we had that. We didn't mention that like kind of lo-fi kind of guitar at the end of Fire that kind of like puts us into like a more kind of like depressive need for like some sort of deliverance state. You know what I mean? Like bring us from our sorrow. And this song I feel like is very much like Kanye specifically looking for like some sort of way, some sort of transcendental experience. And I think in the song they portray like sex as this kind of gross transcendental psychedelic experience, almost holy. That one part where he says drop to your knees for the offering, like kind of like this like religious kind of connotation to it, or how like Kanye sees it. And that's like the element I really F with in this song. It's just like how like Kanye is like using like something like sex to kind of take him out, get him out of his crazy, insane mind. Because that's what I love about the little bridge in between of Kanye's and Kid Cudi's verses, that maniacal, creepy laughter of just like that's what's going on in his head all the time. He's so twitchy and kind of amped up, like he has to escape somehow. He has to have some way to kind of ease being inside of your head all the time. And I think that like he kind of interprets that as like through sex. All right, fourth track on this thing, Free Ghost Town Part 2.
That's right.
I saw you bopping, Michael.
I was
think?
bopping. I love this song. This was the first song I heard off of this album, like a year or two ago. Yeah, I don't know. It's just, really solid. I love everything about it. The production's great. You know, like the drums, they hit you hard. You know, I don't know what if it's like a guitar or something like that. I love that. Like the synth or whatever it is, maybe it's a sample. I'm not sure what it is, but I love it. I don't know. It's just so good. It's catchy. Can't get it out of your head when you hear it. I can't.
You've tried. You've made any sort of machine that's like, you know, probe into your mind and pull the song out.
No success. No success. I can't do it.
Just pop somewhere else.
Yeah. I don't know, to connect it to like Ghost Town Part 1, I guess. To me, it feels like, because Ghost Town is saying like, I don't feel pain because like I'm so used to it, I'm numb to it. But to this song, it's like, I don't feel pain because I'm free from it. I've moved past all of this pain. You know, I'm bettering myself. I'm in a better place now. Yeah. I don't know. I think that's just cool. It's like a good message.
It's like it's like an existential like freedom. You know what I mean? Like being saved. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like there's just what I just like connect to is just the insane like reverb on their voices when they like say like goes like it sounds like it's like echoing off the whole universe. Like they're no longer thinking of like normal like stupid celebrity problems that they were talking about earlier on the album, like on Fire. They're talking about people criticizing them and this and that. They're no longer even thinking of all these worldly like almost lame sufferings. They're now like have a different perspective on life that is like more important, that is like gives them more purpose than like validation from certain fans or from the media or from this. Like it's almost like they're being freed from these like illusions that other people care about so much. You know, like there's a one part where Ty Dolla $ign mentions like leave them to their politic, or no, they'll politic. One day they'll hate you, one day they'll love you, and it's like they will love you and hate you like no matter kind of what you believe. It's just based off like what, you know, and this is kind of from their point of view. So it's almost like I'm been freed from just the fear that these people will disapprove of me.
Yeah, because once you realize that they're gonna hate you no matter what, like you can just do whatever you want, and you're just free from all that bullshit of like constantly worrying, oh, what is everybody else gonna think about me? Yeah. Because you know they're gonna hate you. Whatever you do, you're gonna upset somebody.
You're gonna upset
with whatever choice you make.
And the psychedelic like feel of this whole thing, like the whole
1 second, like, you know, it's just in your face, it's going hard, and then it just like calms down, opens up, very ethereal, like you've mentioned on other tracks.
Yeah, then maybe it pops in with some like, you know, kind of gospel harmonies or not, like in the middle of it. There's a lot of just great kind of feelings in this thing. Like it's not really like there's not much in the lyrics. It's like they kind of repeat a lot of the same refrains, but just in the overall sound, you just get like a feeling of just being lifted up,
free
from being lifted up from just, you know, caring about certain things that really don't necessarily matter in the like the scheme of things. Those but like certain physical problems, worrying about the long term. What is more important than all of that? And I think we get a sense of what maybe they think that is more important, what they want to do with this newfound freedom in later songs. But right now, all I know is the Kanye that was on Fourth Dimension, who's treating like sex like this, you know, this religious experience. I think now he's been freed from that. He no longer needs a constant refilling of like feeling good. He doesn't need to keep going to something. Now he's freed from all that, and he will be moving forward on our next track. All right, Michael, we're chilling in the library. We're
Still
listening
chilling.
to the 5th track, Reborn. What did you think of it?
I'm gonna be honest. Like, when we were, I don't know, like looking at the next track, I'm like, I don't remember what this song was. But I like it. I don't dislike it. I didn't forget about it because I'm like, oh, this song sucks. I want to forget about this. No, it just didn't stand out in my head immediately. But I do like this song. It's a little more like calm, especially like coming from Free before it. It definitely takes it down a couple of notches, but it still has like a good movement to it. You know, it still has like a little bit of that energy still, I don't know, throughout the song. No, it's nice.
Yeah, it's this is kind of like the flagship song, I feel like, from this album, whether it was like meant to be or not, because like this was like the song I heard before I even heard the album. It was like the one that like it was like the popular one, I guess. And I think that's probably because, you know, it has a pretty simple message. You don't need to listen to the rest of the album about it and whatnot. Not simple, but, you know, a self-contained message. What you said about like the movement, you definitely hear that. I feel like at the end, the last kind of like the last kind of leg of the song where Kid Cudi keeps singing, keep moving forward, and then he has like those little like kind of under vocals where he's saying like sitting in the storm. I feel like that part I feel like feels like Kid Cudi like climbing up a mountain or something, like the road to recovery or something. Is like, you know, you just kind of, he's in the middle of a blizzard, there's all these like, all this hail around him and whatnot, and all he's doing is he just has to keep moving one step at a time through the storm, through this blizzard, up this mountain. That's kind of how I kind of definitely can almost visualize that movement in the song. Like, you kind of get that sense that we want, like, even the organs in the background at that point, like there's something helping him, hopefully, but he's alone and he's tretching. That's kind of how I interpret that last part.
I just want to say, when I said movement, I didn't even like realize, like, he's just talking about moving the entire time, and I totally like didn't even realize that.
I totally just interpret that. It's just literally like we are just in the song, we are just trying to make it through, forward. I feel like theme-wise on this song, I think this is like the emotional climax of the album. We start off in this abrasive minefield of violence and cold-blooded. The beginning is kind of like a little minimal, and then we go to Fire, where we kind of like get a little bit more into like how they see the world. Then we get into Fourth Dimension, where we see kind of how they're trying to get out their crazy brains. Then I think we go to Free, where they're finally freed from a lot of these problems. Now we're in Reborn. We've been freed. We've gotten our objective. Now we are stating like our mission statement for like the forward, for the future. Our mission statement for the future. We've made strides. We've become a better person. We've dealt with the certain issues, and now we've come to some sort of road, like some sort of fork in the road. We can either keep going and keep trying to become better, or, you know, we can fall back and become like, you know, not complete the journey. So I feel like this song is very much about like for finally allowing yourself to move forward and not holding your own self back. One thing I love about Kanye's verse on this thing is how he's not asking for forgiveness for anything. He's not talking about that. He's just talking about how he's forgiven himself. He knows he might have messed up in certain like areas, but he is forgiving himself, and he wants to just move forward, because everyone's going to be your critic. Everyone's going to tell you all the things you've done bad. I literally saw like an article about like everything Justin Bieber has ever done wrong.
Oh my God.
I was like, okay, cool. Like, everyone's going to tell you about all your mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
So Kanye, I think, is just making like the decision, like, I believe that I've become a better person, that I have made like, you know, made reparations for like what I've done. Now I'm not going to like hurt myself, like beat myself up anymore about those things. I'm just going to forgive myself and move forward, despite the fact that people are not going to forget about these things. I'm like, that's why I think why I really like about Kanye's verse and whatnot. Also, I get like the sense that like Kanye has like one line like I want all the rain, I want all the pain. That we're no longer gonna try to mask any of these our pain or any of our problem. We're no longer trying to get rid of them through other ways. We're now gonna deal with them head on. Why am I feeling this way? Why am I doing this? Instead of just trying to forget about it through like some other experience, through like a drug or through sex or through going on, going and like doing something crazy, just like we're gonna deal with it head on. We're no longer gonna run away from these sort of problems that I think he talks about a lot in Ye. And that's why I think this album as a whole kind of is a good companion piece to Ye, because Ye, he airs out all his dirty laundry. Now we see Kanye, a free man who has now aired out everything, like all these things that are kind of like we're burdening him, we're holding him back, and now he's like, I want to go on as a reborn, fresh, new person. Damn everything that's come before. Here we go. And I think Kid Cudi as well, who recorded this album after getting out of rehab.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I think that adds a lot to just like the listening experience. These are two like kind of like been broken men. Now they are trying to finally place themselves in a place that could get better.
Yeah.
So I like this track a lot.
That's some good context, really.
Yeah.
I don't know, helps me appreciate it more. I
Well,
wouldn't
that's
have
what it's
known
all about.
that, you know? Cool
That's
stuff.
what it's all about. All right, we're back with the title track, Kids See Ghosts.
That's
Michael,
right. I like this song a lot. It's one of my favorites on the album.
Dang.
I don't know, the beat on it is just so good. I don't know what, like it's kind of airy, a little bit creepy.
Industrial, kind of like metallic at times. Like it's like there's that one thing like dee dee. It's kind of like they're slamming against like a pole or something, like a metal pole.
Like what I envision when I'm hearing that is like a dark cave, and like that's like water dripping down from the top, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know, it's just this whole creepy vibe of ghosts in a cave. That's what I envision when I hear it. And then like that little, I don't know, like theremin, like synth in the back, like spooky ghost noises that it's making. Really cool. I like that. And I don't know, just like Kanye's verse, just like really, it hits hard. And like the chord progression behind it, like especially towards the end. I don't know, it all just blends together.
So Kanye has now been reborn, right, in the last song, if we believe it. So in this song, like this is like, I feel like Kanye coming to like terms with like how hard rebuilding the world is going to be. So like now he's reborn, he wants to move forward, he wants to do like better things with his life, make his life more meaningful or do certain things. So now all of a sudden he's talking about how like he's like taking on like the weight of the world to solve the world's problem, and you just feel like this kind of constant kind of urgency, electric urgency in his verse, where you can hear him like breathe in between his lines, because he's like, it sounds like it might be just all one take. I'm thinking it might be, because you can just hear like how he just needs to get all of it. He's trying to save the world. He talks about how he has this architectural thing he's trying to do. He's doing this. He's making like an Yeezy architectural like arm. So he's trying to rebuild the world. Like he sees like the world is like this kind of like in the first song we kind of hear like it's like in a negative kind of aggressive world. So he's trying to like better the world and now that he's like fixed himself. So I feel like this is now Kanye taking the weight of the world in his shoulders and trying to get all these words out to try to save like the world. And I feel like there's an urgency in his verse that is just so exciting to hear, Kanye get amped and excited about something, what he's going to do. Well, we've come to the final track, Cudi Montage. What did you think?
It's a good song. They all are. I like this album a lot.
Beautiful song.
It's very beautiful. Beautiful. That's sorry. I'm
spelled good, but it's pronounced beautiful.
It's exactly, yeah. It's I'm not used to French. I don't know. No, it's a very very deep song, very like emotional about like begging for forgiveness and being forgiven. Like with the I don't know, stuff talking about like prison and Alice Johnson.
Yeah.
Like that whole idea of like of repentance and serving your time and being forgiven afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't know, because just like thinking about like and like the chorus where it's like save me Lord, like praying, because like when you think like I don't know in Catholicism,
Yeah.
Christianity, whatever, like you could do all these wrongs and like still be forgiven,
Yeah.
and like taken into heaven. So sort of like I don't know, it's like a call to a reformation of the justice system where like hey, like you're serving like a life sentence or whatever, but you're not but you're I don't know, doing well in jail and you're not causing any trouble.
Yeah.
Like there should be some kind of forgiveness to like I don't know, bring you to heaven or like get you out of the system for
Exactly, yeah.
I don't know, just being for like atoning for your sins, you know. I don't know, I think it's a good message.
I really like that interpretation of it. Like I really like in the song is like Kanye's like call to social justice, which is really what you're or like yeah, like what I think you're really like getting onto. And what I kind of interpret the song is like similarly is that like Kanye and Cudi are now reborn. They're now like trying to become better people. They're trying to move forward. And I think like this song is basically about how like the world is full of just so it's like tragedies and awful things that could so easily just get you right back to square one.
Right.
Like it's so easy to like it's easier almost to be reborn than to stay reborn. So it's like at this point like the world is like you could be doing good, you could be living your day by day, and then all of a sudden boom, your niece gets shot in the dome piece and you're now going out. That's the line in the song. You go out, you get a piece, and now you're going out and you lost kind of that internal piece that you had because now you're getting like this external vengeance. I feel like the whole song is just about how like the need that you can't really do it by yourself. You know, like Kanye and Kid Cudi obviously believe in like a higher power that will like help them move forward. But I also feel like in general, you need help to stay like sane, like to stay in a spot where you feel healthy, you feel clear, you feel focused. You need help doing that. You can't do it by yourself because the world is not trying to do it with you. The world's not helping you do it. The world is actively going to try not to knock you out of it. So I think it's really a beautiful sentiment to send the listener out on. I think it shows like it really plays into the volatility of both of these personas of Kid Cudi and Kanye's persona. Like, you know, Ye is a very volatile person. He's always portrayed himself that way. On Ye, he like for the first time for an extended period of time and to the extent he shows himself as someone who's willing to try to clear his mind, someone who wants to try to work on himself. Now we've gone through all of that. We're at the end of Kids See Ghosts, and we hopefully have a more healthy Kanye, and Kid Cudi. So, and the last thing they leave us on is the line "Stay strong." Like we don't know where both of them could go. Kid Cudi could relapse. Kanye could go back to the same behavior he's made himself famous for.
Right.
But at this point in time, we're left with a message of like hope, like stay strong. It's a long road to get like to the recovery, hopefully, that they'll eventually get. I feel like. So
yeah,
I think it's a beautiful sentiment to send us out on. So, if that's all being said, I believe that we both. What would be your overall now, just general impression of both the albums overall? What do you say?
Well, they're both good albums.
Yeah.
I'll give it that. I'll admit I went into this a little bit skeptical, but open. Because I don't know, just from past experiences, I'm like, oh, I don't know if I'm really gonna like it, because like in the past I haven't really liked Kanye that much, apart from like a few songs. So I'm like, whatever. But I'm open to it. You know, this could be promising.
Well, you know what they say: a broken clock can make a banger twice a day. So
I believe that's how the adage goes. Yeah. But no, like every track that I listened to, like I was pleasantly surprised by, and I was like, oh, like these are all really good. Yeah, I did like Ye, but I liked Kids See Ghosts a lot more. I don't know, it just fell more in line with what I typically would like to listen to. Like everything just like, you know, really just hit hard, and I'm like, oh, like I like stuff like that. It was, I don't know, but it was like emotional and thought provoking, both of the albums. Yeah. And I don't know, it was just refreshing to hear, I guess.
I think as a unit, these two albums are so exciting to listen to hear primarily Kanye but because we did two albums of featuring him, but even Kid Cudi, to see two artists just feel like honestly just put themselves out there and put out a vulnerable side of them that Kid Cudi's been doing for years, but just putting out like this like map of where they were, where they want to go. It's just like a really like almost time capsule of these two artists in this year, 2018. 2018, this is where Kanye was and this is where Kid Cudi was. And where they leave it, it's like limitless possibilities. And it's almost like this could be like the end of their musical careers. And it's like in a sense, like, because what happens after this is going to happen after this. Both of them could do totally different things. They could maybe go back and like this album doesn't really mean anything because they relapse or, you know, they go backwards. Mm-hmm. But as it is, we're left with this hopeful, limitless possibilities going anywhere they could for both these artists into the future. And I think it's like a nice time capsule of where these artists were, where they're going to go. And I think it really fits into like the narrative of their lives well, the narrative of their music. And I think it's just a nice, just beautiful duo about acknowledging your problems and asking for help. That's it. Thanks.
That was nice.
Well, I guess with that concludes the first ever episode of Chillin' in the Library.
Looks like it.
Well,
Jacob, it's been a pleasure chilling with you this evening.
It's been a pleasure chilling with you, Michael. We'll see you in the future with another album and whatnot. So thank you so much for listening.